What we did the last times is we took basically 3 classes to go over the general structure, and just as like a very brief, we're gonna look at it very slightly. But what we're gonna do now is, for the foreseeable future, what we're gonna do is Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, for about half an hour, 45 minutes. We're gonna go through the Siddur and go through different parts of the Siddur and understand them more in depth. Some of the things that we say in the synagogue, some of them that we don't say in the synagogue, and you may be saying at home beforehand. Okay? But just so everybody has a deeper understanding of the tefillot, and whatever we don't finish this time, we continue next time, and so on. So we're not going to be dragging it out more than the usual. The other classes were built to be long to begin with, because we didn't know if we were going to continue this. But now that we're continuing, we'll dive into them. So first of all, you can even just look at the table of contents. It gives you enough. It's on like right in the entrance. Okay, table of contents is the first things are Hashkamat Boker. Okay, the rising in the morning and everything that we're going to say over there. That's what we're going to be focusing on mostly today, which has Birkot HaShachar. Okay, the morning blessings. We're going to talk about Modeh Ani, the blessings of Birkot HaShachar and Birkot HaTorah. That's going to be our focus today. Then we have Psukei de Zimra, okay, that we'll talk about hopefully next time. We'll go from Psukei de Zimra into Shema and its blessings, Shmoneh Esrei, and then Tachanun, Kedusha de Sidra of Ashrei Uva Letzion, and the end of the davening, Aleinu, Shir Shel Yom, and Kelokenu, as like the end of davening. So that's what that's basically the basic structure of the day-to-day prayers of Shacharit. Okay, Mincha is much easier. You have Ashrei, then you have Shmoneh Esrei, Aleinu to finish it up. Okay, so we'll also give like proper attention towards Aleinu and Kaddish in a later class. But for now, I want that we'll be focusing on going through the Siddur, and when we have things that there's a stronger emphasis for, we'll focus on them. So we're going to start on page 2 with Modeh Ani. You wake up in the morning, you're still in bed. A lot of this is stuff that we've learned beforehand. We learned in the halacha classes that we do Shabbat morning before services. But what we do is we wake up in the morning and we need to go wash our hands. However, before I wash my hands, I have a prayer. This prayer I'm saying before my hands are clean. Now we talked about this a little bit, and we'll talk about it more when we're talking about the halachot of Netilat Yadayim for many different things. But you're not allowed to do pretty much anything before you wash your hands. You're not allowed to touch your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears. Okay, you're not allowed to. You need to make sure that your hands are clean. So there are people that have by the side of the bed, they have a wash cup, they have an atla, and some sort of bucket, and you wash your hands, and then you get out of bed. But the majority of us, okay, that don't have our house built in this kind of way, say that you are allowed to walk around inside your house. Your house is basically like a kippah, right? And while I'm underneath the house, I can go to the bathroom, I can relieve myself, then I go wash my hands, brush my teeth, leave the bathroom, put on some clothes, and make my brachot of Asher Yatzar, Netilat Yadayim, Birkot HaShachar. But there is one prayer that goes before this, and it's Modeh Ani. So the words are, Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechezalta bi nishmati, v'chemla rabba emunatecha. So what is missing from this prayer? There's a word that should be missing, that should pop out. The name of God. The name of God, right? So every prayer, pretty much by definition, is who am I praying to? And there's different ways that we'll use the name of God, but it's always there in one form or another. Over here, it's Melech Chai V'Kayam, O living and eternal King. Right? Over here, instead of referring to God with any explicit name, I'm using a title to describe God. Why? Because I have not washed yadayim yet. So the first thing that we do when we wake up in the morning is we say thank you. Modeh ani literally means thank you. I am thanking. That is the first thing. Learn to have gratitude. So that the first thing out of your mouth in the morning is thank you. Thank you for the fact that I woke up. Okay? Modeh ani lefanecha. I am thanking before you, Melech Chai v'Kayam, an eternal king. Okay? Shechizalta bi nishmati, for have returning my soul within me. B'chemla rabba emunatecha. With compassion, abundant is your faithfulness, right? This sort of connects to Elohai Neshama, which is a prayer that we say later on, which is pretty much Modeh ani, just with God's name. But this is referring to something that is very, very important of why we wash yadayim in the morning and many other things, which is our neshama leaves our body when we sleep. Okay, this is again getting into mystical things in Judaism, but our neshama goes back to the world or the realm of neshamot, olam ha-neshamot. The Arizal talks about this quite a lot, that our neshama is back in the spirit realm, and then it doesn't necessarily have a commitment that it needs to come back. Okay, and without my neshama, I can't live. So the Gemara refers to this as sleeping is 1/60th of death. When I'm going to sleep, there's something dangerous. Who's guaranteeing that I'm waking up? Right now, I'm walking, I'm talking, right? Everything's working. I'd be surprised if suddenly I just drop down dead. But not waking up in the morning. When I'm going, I'm dead, right? I'm lying down, motionless. Who's guaranteeing that I wake up in the morning? So when I'm looking at it from the Kabbalistic point of view, my neshama goes back to God at night, and I'm thanking God that my neshama came back in the morning. And there's a lot of different philosophies that you can learn or look at it from this point of view. But Rav Nachman's approach over here is, first of all, your neshama goes back to the realm of neshamot to purify itself. Which means when you wake up in the morning, you are not the same person that you went to sleep as. You are literally a different person. That is how Rav Nachman looks at it. Not like, a little bit of a metaphor. I'm a new person completely. And psychology, there's psychological approaches that look at it the same way and say, I get to wake up in the morning and decide that I'm a different person. There's a physiological thing of your cells are changing all the time, right? They're dying and regenerating, which means you are not the same person that I met, a few months ago, right? Because you've changed. Your body, your structure of your body has changed. It's been replaced by cells that look the same, but we're different people, right? So I have a chance to actually change. And when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is say thank you. And the second part of this is I'm acknowledging that I have a chance to change. So continuing with Rav Nachman's kind of philosophy, Rav Nachman says, if a person isn't better today than he was yesterday, why does he deserve tomorrow? In other words, every time that I go to sleep and wake up, I need to say, why should I deserve to live another day? We take it a little bit for granted. Okay? Because no one is assuming that I'm going to just go to sleep now and not wake up in the morning. But who's guaranteeing that you wake up in the morning? Right? Who's guaranteeing that you're going to live till 120? We have no guarantee. So every morning I wake up is a miracle. Do I deserve today? Have I done anything to earn yesterday the fact that I will wake up tomorrow morning? So the Modeh ani is kickstarting my day with a good habit. Say thank you. You don't understand the words? It's fine. Teach your mouth to say good things, and it will teach your body afterwards. Right? This is something that Chabad does very, very well with little kids, is as soon as a kid knows how to do this action, right, give him a coin in his hand and have him put it in the tzedakah box, right? So that his hand is used to giving tzedakah, okay? That motion. It doesn't need to be a lot. It's 1 shilling every day, right? It's 30 shillings for the entire month, right? Like, not including Shabbos, fine. 26, shilling for the entire month. But that movement of I'm getting used to not holding on to my money, but rather passing it on. Getting used to the first words out of your mouth being thank you, is a good habit. Realizing that your life is not for granted, that is a second good habit. Maimonides, who besides being a brilliant rabbi and philosopher, and I think he was an astronomer as well, he had many, many different titles. One of them was a doctor. And he talks about the fact that when you wake up in the morning, that it is very dangerous for people, especially with people with low blood pressure, to jump out of bed. Right? If you jump out of bed, you're in danger, because what's going to happen? Your blood pressure is going to drop, and you're going to fall and hit your head. Okay? One of the most common calls that ambulances get in Israel every single morning, probably also around the world, but I just know this from Israel, is the morning calls. Every single morning, the ambulances get called for men who are peeing standing up and hit their head. Why? Because the drop of blood pressure. Okay, so people with low blood pressure need to be very, very careful with certain things. And Maimonides looks at this and says, Modeh Ani has 12 words. Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechezarta bi nishmati, bechemla rabba emunatecha. 12 words. He says, 4 you say while you're lying down, 4 you say while you're sitting, and 4 you're already standing. The motion is, this should take you 12 seconds to get out of bed. Don't rush it, 12 seconds. Start, Modeh Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, right, shechezarta bi nishmati. Right, like that's how you should be moving, and it is a good way to pace yourself from a medical point of view. That's how the Rambam looks at it, and it's written in the halacha books to do it in such a way. So we're gonna skip the putting on tzitzit, talit, tefillin, which is when we say it over, when what we're doing over here. The only comment that I'm gonna make about it is that there's from page 2 until page 16. So page 16 is Birkot Torah. Right? And even page 16, there's a question of at what point do we say them? Are we saying them when we wake up? Are we saying them when we walk into the synagogue? Right? Do I have a mitzvah to say Birkot Torah in the synagogue? Or am I supposed to do them when I wake up as part of my daily routine? The Birkot HaShachar that we're going to also discuss today. Am I supposed to be saying them as I'm doing the things that I'm doing? Pokeach ivrim when I open my eyes, malbish ormim when I get dressed, machin mitzvah when I'm putting on shoes, and so on? Or am I supposed to say them specifically in the synagogue? Including in those pages was also the bracha for washing your hands and going to the bathroom. And that also is a question of, do I need to wash my hands at home and make the bracha at home? Because I only make the bracha once, okay? Or do I make the bracha when I'm coming into the synagogue? So if, again, in an ideal kind of situation and community, that you're coming and you're praying every single morning in a synagogue with the minyan, right? And you wake up in the morning and you get up, you need to wash your hands because you can't leave the house before you wash your hands, right? And you're going to the bathroom and you need to get ready. But do I make the bracha? So there's opinions that say make the bracha in the morning, okay, when you do it, and there are opinions that say make the bracha when you're at the synagogue before you walk in. This is why pretty much every Bet Knesset in the world is going to have a washing station when you walk in to be able to wash your hands. It's not cleanliness, it's about purity, okay? About coming in pure. So when we're coming in to pray, the question is, do I need to wash my hands from the travel, from the weekday? Okay, this is also how the Shulchan Aruch refers to it when he talks about putting away your work clothes and putting on your prayer clothes when you're going into the Bet Knesset. Whether it is physical or metaphorical, you need to have that stop and change in mindset. So I'm washing yadayim. So a lot of people, what they do, okay, I would say I'm not included in that because my house is over here, right? But in another situation, I would wake up in the morning, I'd wash my hands. Right? Finish going to the bathroom, wash my hands. Make the bracha. Asher yatzaren al netilat yadayim. Then I drive to shul, walk to shul, go wherever I'm going. I would get there, right? After I finish getting dressed and, bringing, whatever, if I'm going to work, bringing my bag with me or whatever it is, walk into the Bet Knesset, wash my hands again, but don't make a bracha. okay? Because you only make the bracha al Netilat Yadayim one time, okay? For the Netilat Yadayim of the morning. We will make it as many times as we need for eating, but not for going to the bathroom. Again, the first one is for the entire day, as far as that. Then we get into Birkot Torah, page 16. Birkot Torah, we did discuss this to an extent when we were learning this in the halacha classes, but we'll review this also for the benefit of anyone who wasn't there with us. There are Birkot Torah, brachot that we say before we learn Torah. Now, when the brachot that we say before we learn Torah, the question is, why are we so strict about this? Okay, you can't start praying, or you can't learn any or say words of Torah before you make these blessings. So it's extremely important that I will stop and I will make blessings that God gave us the mitzvahs, that God gave us the Torah, that God chose us to learn the Torah, that God chose us to keep the Torah. So there is an importance to it, and because the tefillah has a lot of things from the Torah. So all of Psukei de Zimra come from Tehillim, and some and Az Yashir from Shemot. Okay, from the end of after the splitting of the sea in Beshalach. Okay, you have you have Shema that is from the Torah, right? So you have all these things that I'm gonna need to say a bracha for. Okay, and we talked about this a lot when we were learning the class, but the Gemara is very, very strict about this and says this is actually why we were kicked off of the land of Israel, was because we did not say the bracha on the Torah. Which means if I'm saying, why do we say brachot at all? We say brachot to ask permission, to acknowledge that the world does not belong to us. And right, I made a shehakol on the water, right? Because the water doesn't belong to me. I can pay for it, I can work hard and bring it, but God creates the water. So what do I say? Shehakol niya bidvaro, that everything is created with God's in God's way, right? Like with God's word. So God creates it, and I'm allowed to enjoy it. But if I'm enjoying it without making a blessing, then I'm stealing. Okay, I'm taking without permission. Even though we all have a good relationship and I want to be able to just come into your house and use whatever I want, okay? If I came into your house when you're not there and I didn't tell you about it and I start using all of your things, that's stealing, right? I need to ask permission. Even if we are all buddies and everything is an understanding. You can't just come in and start taking things that without permission. However, there's only one bracha that is actually mentioned, only one thing that is actually mentioned that you need to make a bracha on in the entire Torah, and that is ve'achalta v'savata uverachta. And after you ate and you are full, you have to bless God. Okay, that is the only thing that it says. However, there is also other psukim that refer to learning Torah. Okay, and therefore some rabbis understood that is where you need to make a bracha from. Okay, there's a machloket, okay, a dispute between the Ramban and Ramban, okay, Maimonides and Nachmanides, whether it is a commandment from the Torah to say Birkot Torah before you learn, and if I am learning without, it's like I'm stealing the knowledge, right? It's right. Everything that we're doing from Torah is pure gold and diamonds. Can't just go and take that without asking permission, right? Or acknowledging that we have this permission to begin with. So if I'm going to be doing this, I need to ask permission, right? And another opinion says, no, it's the Rabbanan, it's rabbinic law. It's a rabbinic law that we should say it. However, either way, it is extremely important to do it and to say Birkat Torah. Now, just so that we'll go through the words. Page 16. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, like how all brachot start. Okay, bless you God, bless you Hashem, our God, King of the world. Asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, that you have sanctified us with your mitzvahs, and you commanded us. It doesn't say to learn; it says to la'asok, to deal with. Okay, to get into it. Okay, la'asok, the word esek means a business, to work, to get involved, right? If it's just to read Torah, I can just read the words, never understand them, and it's good enough. But what do I need to do? La'asok, to be invested, to sit and learn. So you're supposed to have certain times every single week, every single day, every morning, every evening that you're learning Torah, right? To involve yourself, to live that life of Torah, right? So we're doing these classes, right? And we have our classes on Shabbat, and we have, right, you're structuring your week according to Torah classes, right? I'm getting involved, I'm invested in it. I'm not just reading the words, I want to understand what they mean. That's la'asok. Okay? The difference in Torah shebe'al peh and Torah shebichtav, the written Torah and the oral Torah, is that the written Torah, you have a commandment to read even if you don't understand. Okay? You get credit for reading even if you don't understand the written Torah. The oral Torah, the Mishnah, the Gemara, the Halacha, you need to actually understand, because that's the whole purpose of it, is the deeper discussions and understanding. Okay? So, v'ha'arevna, it continues. And please Hashem, make the words sweet. V'ha'arevna Hashem Elokeinu et divrei Toratcha befinu u'b'fi amcha beit Yisrael. Please God, make the words sweet of the words of the Torah sweet in our mouths and in the mouths of all of the nation of Israel. V'niyeh anachnu, and we shall be. V'tze'etzaenu, and our children. Or there's different versions of this. V'tze'etzaenu, and our children's children. V'tze'etzei amcha beit Yisrael, and the descendants of all of your nation of Israel. Kulanu yodei shemecha v'lomdei toratcha lishma. That we should all know your name and learn the Torah for the sake of learning Torah. Baruch atah Hashem hamelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael. Bless you, God, that you are the one who teaches Torah to his nation, to Israel. The word over there of lishma is something that we've talked about years ago when we were learning Pirkei Avot, and we talked about there's different ways of learning, right? You could be doing things just for the sake of getting a reward, right? And that is not the type of that's not what brings growth. It's not that it's invaluable. Okay, some people need to have that reward and punishment kind of mentality. It's why there is a discussion at all in Judaism about an afterlife and heaven and hell in Judaism. You look at older texts, it's barely mentioned. Okay, why is it barely mentioned? Because that shouldn't be the emphasis. You should be living your life for doing the right thing, for the sake of doing the right thing. But if you need motivation, then you need motivation. Okay? And that is an important principle. So when I'm focusing over here, I'm saying, I want to be learning Torah for the sake of learning Torah. I want to know God's name. I want to be able to have that kind of relationship. The other blessing, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch atah Hashem noten haTorah. Bless you, Hashem, right? That you chose us from all the nations and you gave us your Torah. Bless you, Hashem, the giver of the Torah. So we have two blessings. One is more of a prayer, and the other one is saying thank you. Okay? Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for giving us. We're familiar with the story that we tell on Shavuot, right? That it's the Midrash that Hashem goes to all of the other nations, right? And says, will you take it, right? So God chooses us, but we are choosing Him as well, right? It's this relationship of we are choosing, and we would like to continue having this relationship. So that God gives us the Torah, we're blessing God for that. Now, the continuation of what we were learning back in the halacha classes are, well, what do I need to learn to be able to say Birkat Torah? Can I say, if I am just listening to a class, but don't say a single word of Torah, do I need to make a blessing? If I am only listening to a class on a story that is in the Gemara, but it's not the Torah, it's not a Mishnah, there's no halacha to learn from this. I'm just listening to midrashim about Avraham Avinu when he was a kid. right? We're in Parashat Lech Lecha this week. So there's a ton of stories about Avraham Avinu, right? From Agadatot. Do I need to say Birkat Torah? So there's different opinions about it, and therefore, when they wrote the Siddur, they put in the three different opinions. One is you need to learn something from the Torah. One is it's even or maybe even necessary something from the Mishnah, and maybe even something deeper, which has already a more halachic implication of something from the Gemara. So the first thing that we're going to learn from the Torah is the bracha. Yivarchecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, yer Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Isa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. This is a blessing that Aharon HaKohen blesses the nation. We bless our children with. It is a timeless blessing that is passed from generation to generation, and therefore it's extremely important. And again, we're starting out with a blessing. They had to pick a pasuk or two, right? They could have picked whatever psukim they wanted. They wanted something that had a positive, good start to the day of a blessing. Yevarechecha. The Mishnah, very short one. Okay, Elu dvarim she'en lahem shiur. These are things that have no measurement to them. Hape'ah, or no measurement of like how much more you can do. Okay, there is a minimum, there isn't a maximum. Hape'ah, okay, the corner that you leave in your field for the poor, you can leave a lot more than the minimum. So when I have a field, this is the size of my field, right? Yeah. And I'm coming and I'm going to cut my field. You remember the story of Boaz from Megillat Ruth, right? So what does he tell Ruth? He tells her, you can walk with my workers and pick up. There's leket shechicha and pe'ah. These are gifts that are given to the poor. So there's a part that I need to give from it to the Kohanim, Leviim, right? There's the 1 out of 100, 1 out of 10 that needs to go to them. But then I also, if there's little grains that fall, okay, little how do you say, like one shibolet, it's
sprouts?
No, like yeah, it's not a grain because it's like the whole wheat, like what?
What's that?
Stocks.
I don't know. But like if like 1 or 2 fall, then you're not allowed to pick it up. Okay? If 3 fall, then you can pick it up, right? If I dropped a handful, I can pick it up. But I can't pick up 1 or 2. That is part of leket. Okay? Then when I'm continuing and I'm going through, I need to leave a corner, okay? And that corner has a minimum, but it doesn't have a maximum. It can be, I don't remember the exact measurements. There's a whole Mishnah called Pe'ah that deals with this, okay? So it could be, let's say, 10% that I need to leave for them, right? Or I can leave them 20% of my field, 30% of my field, right? That is my decision. How generous do I want to be? In other words, tzedakah, I can give a lot more than the minimum, okay? Then there's shechicha, which is if I forgot a sheaf of wheat, like a full one, okay? 1, 2, 3, I forgot them, okay? And I drive off. I'm on my tractor, I drive off, I forgot them. And then I'm like driving and go, oh, I forgot those. I'm not allowed to drive back for them. This is shechicha. Okay? Shechicha is the only mitzvah that you can't do on purpose because the literal definition of it means I forgot. Okay? So these are gifts that are given to the poor, and there's a lot of dynamics in Judaism that have to do with being able to give and about being able to receive, and a lot of this has to do actually around the field. So pe'ah, bikurim, the first of the fruit that we're bringing up to Bet HaMikdash, right? So there's a minimum what you're supposed to bring. But if you wanted to bring a massive basket and more, you wanted to decorate the basket with gold, it was described people would decorate their baskets with gold, and people would decorate the horns of their bulls with gold, right? To like bring up, because there's no limit to this kind of gift, okay? And the re'ayon, is the pilgrimage of going up to Bet HaMikdash. So you need to go up, 3 pamim b'shana, yir'eh kol zechurecha. Right? 3 times a year, every man has this obligation to go up to Bet HaMikdash. Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuot. But if you wanted to come more than that, it is a mitzvah. It's a blessed thing to do, right? More than just that.
What does it mean, the rayon? Rayon is...
Lirot. It comes from the word to see.
Okay.
Okay, like re'iyah.
Yeah.
So also
Like
keep
an
in
idea.
also keep in mind the Hebrew is slightly different, right? Like we would never say rayon today to describe a pilgrimage of seeing.
Yeah.
Okay,
The rayon is an idea, right?
a rayon is an
Rayon or
idea.
interview or something.
Right, but that we have with an ayin, with an aleph.
Yeah.
But this is also it's so this is the Mishnah Hebrew is still slightly different than our Hebrew, but you can get a lot of context often from the Gemara if you're not sure, because the Gemara on Pe'ah. Actually, there's no Gemara of Bavli, okay, there is Yerushalmi, and it would discuss it, and it would say, well, what does this mean? And it was clear to everyone, it talks about going up to Bet HaMikdash to go there, so it's not even discussion, okay? Gmilut Chasadim, doing charity, the Talmud Torah, and learning Torah. There is no limit of how much Torah you can learn, there is no limit of how much charity you can do. So now we learned a Mishnah, right? And we read this every single morning, and again, puts us in what mindset? Do good, learn Torah, right? Like, that's the mindset it's put in. Now we got into the Gemara. It happens to be that this Gemara is, right, like, it actually sounds like it's more from the Mishnah of that Gemara, but maybe it's a Braita. A Braita was a Mishnah that did not make it in to the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. So Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, when he's compiling the Mishnahs, he basically goes in whenever there were two Mishnahs that were similar or not enough, he wasn't able to put all of the Mishnahs in. It would be endless. So some of them became books of what are called Braitot, and they have a lower status than the Mishnah. Okay, so if there's an argument between a Mishnah and a Braita, the Mishnah wins. But they go into this. They are often quoted in the Gemara. Okay, so אלו דברים שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא. These are things that a person benefits from in this world, but the bigger reward he'll get in the world to come. Okay, which means everything that I do, I can benefit from the world to come, but this I also get a reward in this world. What are they? Kibud av va'em, respecting your parents. Okay. First of all, on the most basic level, you respect your parents, you treat your parents well, you will have a better life. But the Torah also tells us there is a reward for respecting your parents. You live a longer life, right? So the Torah tells us that's actually one of two mitzvahs that the Torah tells us the reward for. So this is the first one. But kibud horim is also a mitzvah that you will get sachar in olam haba. You will get you get a reward in the world to come. Gmilut chasadim, charity. Hashkamat Beit HaMidrash, shacharit ve'arvit, showing up to the Beit Knesset early, morning and evening, which means don't show up in the middle of services, don't show up at the end, don't show up a second before it starts, show up early. Okay, show up early. A mentality of being in the Bet HaMidrash or the Bet Knesset, very interchangeable terminologies. That morning and evening. Okay, making sure that you're always there. If your life is, if you live your life halachically, right? You wake up in the morning, you're praying, right? If you're praying in a minyan with a community, think of what that would do. Imagine if we had 3 minyans a day, right, in this community, what the community would by default have to look like to accommodate something like that. It would mean we are all structuring our day, our work, our life, our social lives around the community. Okay, it's very, very hard where the location of the synagogue, everybody's jobs and where everybody is, but the mindset. Okay, what that would actually change if we had services in that kind of way, right? So in Israel, where that is a reality, or America and Europe, places where I have larger Jewish communities, right? South Africa, that you have that, people work around the Jewish community area. That builds the Jewish community up. That makes the community stronger, and you benefit from it also in this world, you have a better social life, you have a good structured day, a good structured life, right? And you benefit from it in the world to come. Hachnasat orchim, welcoming in guests. Bikur cholim, visiting the sick. Hachnasat kala, helping give either charity or it's providing for a bride to be able to go into the wedding. So it used to be something that was very, 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 it was a very big topic that is brought up all over Jewish literature of someone wasn't able to make the dowry to be able to pay for his daughter, right? Like it was more on the other side for his daughter to be able to get married, right? So there's, you want your daughter to get married, but the guy, he can't afford to pay the dowry, right? So helping, going in, so this is very, very common. You hear a lot of Hasidic stories of people going around that were collecting money for Hachnasat Kala, to help a Kala get married, to help the couple get together, right, and have a wedding. So this is a very big mitzvah. Ulevayat hamet, walking a dead man, right, like in a funeral, being the person who is escorting, right? So there's questions of, well, is that the person who's carrying the coffin? Is it anyone who shows up? Is it people, right? Like what do I need to do? And the answer is a little bit of any of these things, because it is something that you never get paid back for in this world, right? Like no one is giving to you something physical. It's called chesed shel emet, right? You go to a funeral, that person's never paying you back, right? This is not going to get you a job in their company. This is not, but this is something that you benefit from in this world, doing altruistic charity, right? Doing actions that you're not looking to benefit from, right? Will do good and it benefits.
So include the Nichum Avilim. Oh.
Yeah, well, Nichum Avilim is a little bit different, okay? So going to like pay a shiva call to visit mourners, that's like already like I'm coming to like to pay my respects to you, a lot less to your father, right? I'm coming really like
No, why?
It really depends on the situation. But like it's a lot of times you're going to. I'm saying like there I'm already having a relationship with someone, right? If there's a halacha that there's a person that is found dead and no one knows who that person is. Okay, it's a case that the only case that a kohen gadol can become impure is if there is a met mitzvah. That means a dead person that no one knows. He doesn't have relatives. No one knows who he is. The kohen gadol is allowed to become impure to help do the tahara and bring him to burial. Okay, the kohen gadol is not allowed for his own family, but for a met mitzvah he is. Okay, so like you can think of it also in those kinds of terms of like doing something that I'm not benefiting from directly from the person that I'm doing this favor for, but what am I benefiting from? That society has this kind of charity, that we are taking care of each other even when I have nothing to gain. That's at least how I view it. Where am I? The yun tefillah, and to learn the prayers, that's what we're doing now. Okay, so it's more than just praying, but iyun tefillah, learning the words of prayer. V'hava'at shalom ben adam lechavero. Okay, bringing peace between man and his friend. There is another version of this that says uven ish leishto, and bringing a husband and wife closer together. Okay, which means if you see people that are fighting and you have a way of settling the dispute and bringing them closer together, then that is a good and blessed thing. Okay, that should be done. And this is what Aharon HaKohen does, right? Aharon HaKohen, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Aharon HaKohen would go. We talked about this in the Sukkah. Aharon HaKohen, what would he do? He would go and he would see two people that would fight. And then each one goes to his way, and he would run over to one of them and he says, I saw your friend, he's in so much pain that he caused you this pain, and he just wants to make up with you, and he's looking for the words how to do it. And then he would go to the other one and say, I saw your friend, and he's running back to you because he wants to make up with you, and he just doesn't know how to say it, right? And they would both run towards each other and make up because Aharon was lying. right? Neither of them said this to begin with. But this place of bringing people together, this is called Mishanim Mipnei HaShalom. We change our words, right? We bend the truth to bring peace amongst brothers, right? And we have this, that Hashem does this even with Avraham and Sarah, that Hashem changes what Sarah says. Sarah says, Ha'umnam eled va'adoni zaken. Can I really give birth? And my man is so old. And Hashem says, Lama tzachaka Sarah lemor, ha'umnam eled ve'ani zakanti. Okay? See, Hashem talks to Avraham and says, why did Sarah laugh and saying, could I give birth? I've gotten old, right? It says that Hashem changes the words so that to bring peace between a husband and wife, right? So there's two different versions of this, and one also says between husband and wife. The last one is V'talmud Torah keneged kulam, and learning Torah is equivalent to all of them. Now, this ends up bringing massive types of disputes on the power of what is of learning Torah, right? Learning Torah, the Haredi world very much lies on this and says, right, like they rely on this Braita and the Gemara. And what do they say? They say the Torah, that like we learn that learning Torah is more important than prayer, than visiting sick people, than respecting your parents, than anything else is learning Torah, right? And there's disputes about this, right? So it is important to learn Torah, but Torah shemavia li'idei ma'aseh. Learn Torah that brings actions, right? If you're learning how to respect your parents and you don't respect your parents, you did not learn how to respect your parents. You did not actually learn Torah, right? So we will continue next week with Birkot HaShachar. We're going to continue with Eloheinu Neshama and Birkot HaShachar. And for tonight, I'm going to finish over here. Were there any questions about these sections tonight? Yes. Okay.
Is it correct to say blessing?
If you are waking up in the middle of the night to read from the Torah, from my recollection, but I have the answer right over here, so I don't need to guess, okay, which is better. My recollection is that we don't. Okay, there is. If you were up the entire night, you don't say Birkat Torah. If you slept in the middle of if you slept during the night and woke up, okay, to learn, then you do say Birkat Torah. But there are also different opinions of we don't say it at night, and therefore you wait for the morning to say Birkat Torah, as the blessing is still the blessing of the night of the day before. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah. You have to when you wake up you wash your hands without a blessing. The blessing is only in the morning. Okay? So we'll continue next week.
Thank you.
My pleasure.